Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at gcnlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set, cocked, locked. Here we go. Your dial set correctly to USA Prepares. Thank you for being in class with us today. We broadcast Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. through 11 a.m. Central Time, and rebroadcast, tape delay, as it's known in radio vernacular, throughout the day and night. Jason is engineering the broadcast in Minnesota. Thank you very much, Jason. I'm Vincent Finelli. Rich Scheben's with us in Montana. I'm in Missouri. Welcome, Rich Scheben.
Well, thank you, Vincent Finelli. How are you this morning?
Very well, very well. I learned a little bit more, probably the final piece of the puzzle that I needed to help us with a decision about broadcasting. And here's what that is. And I've mentioned on the air that we have affiliates. And well, let me explain how this works. So I'm in my studio at the farmhouse in Missouri, and I connect via digital signal to Genesis Communications Network, where Jason, our engineer, is this morning, and he's in a studio. And he has telephone lines that come into the studio in Minnesota at Genesis Communications Network. And when calls come in, he can answer those calls and put them into the network. I have a screen in front of me that has all the telephone lines for the studio. So I can, once Jason answers the telephone, if a call comes in from one of our class, he can say, "Hi, this is Jason. You've reached USA Prepares. May I have your first name and the state you're calling from and the topic you would like to discuss?" And he would type that into a screen, which I can see as he's typing it. So it might be Joe from Texas, and he wants to talk about climate change, for example. Now, we do not screen calls for content, but what we do is we want to make sure that we can stay on topic, because let's say a Dr. Norman Shealy or a Rich Scheben is on the air with me, and you have prepared for a specific broadcast. We really don't want to get sidetracked and off topic because you've prepared for it. So we want to stay on topic, and that's why our engineer will ask, "What would you like to discuss?" Because I may have said to him at the beginning of the broadcast, "Jason, we're not going to be taking calls today because we're going to stay on topic," or I might not have said anything. If I don't say anything, Jason will take the calls and he'll let me know. And that way I can manage the broadcast from my end. Very, very rarely do we not take the call, even if it's off topic, because I'll try to get the call on topic. But if it's so far off topic, I'll type back to Jason, our engineer, that, we'll call on Tuesday or call on Friday or call, some other day, and we'll be glad to discuss that. But today we can't do it because we're staying on topic. So that's how that works. And then the call's placed on hold, and I can see it. And then I can answer the call right here from Missouri at the farmhouse. I can answer the call, and I can welcome the student calling or the instructor calling. And then as we do that, the broadcast is sent out over the internet simultaneously with it being sent up to a satellite, uplinked to a satellite. And then radio stations with their satellite antennas and receivers and computers can pick up the broadcast live and then replay it or play it right then and there. Or they can pick it up tape delayed from the satellite. So what's happened is there's an enormous cost associated with satellite time. No question about it. And that's how our affiliates, AM and FM radio stations, pick up our broadcast. They pick it up via the satellite. And there's a cost that is now being rolled out starting next month. I believe the first of next month. And when that happens, we won't be able to pay for the satellite feed, which is $500 a month. So I understand that we can still be on the air, meaning through Genesis Communications Network, but not via satellite, unless we pay the $500 a month. And I understand it. And I'm not complaining about it. And I don't disagree with it. It's a necessary cost. And it needs to be borne by someone or some organization or organizations or listeners, or it's got to be paid somehow. Because a satellite company is not in business. It's not a charity there either. So since we don't sell things, and since I give the advertising 6 minutes per broadcast is mine to use as I would like, I give it away. So there's no revenue. We don't make any money here at USA Prepares. Everyone's a volunteer. No one gets paid. So if we are going to feed the satellite to feed our affiliates, we're going to have to pay for it somehow. So my question for our class today is, what would you like to do? Would you like me to do the unthinkable and put one of those PayPal buttons on USA Prepares and ask you to give us money? Or would you like me to try to sell advertising, which is impossible for me to do? And what would that be? So we have 6 minutes, and I could sell that for $100 per minute per month. That means that you get a month's worth of advertising, 1 minute per broadcast for $100. I could do that. Or we could do a combination of minutes of advertising plus PayPal donations. We could do that. I don't know what to do. So I'd like to leave that up to our class. What do you think we should do? Do you think that makes sense, either one of those or both? Or do you think that we should just stop feeding the satellite? I've got my cat in here, and he's raising terror. Anyway, Rich Scheben, what are your thoughts?
Well, and we've talked about this privately before, Vince, and it's very obvious that we, meaning you, myself, the rest of the instructors, are not doing this for money, to be famous or infamous. We're doing this for the American people. And I would like, personally, to see, I've been on the air, thousands of radio shows. I know when my book first came out, I was on up to 3 shows per day. And can I say it's getting old? I don't know. Are we making a difference? Are people waking up? I think people are waking up big time. And I'm looking at all the notes I have. I have probably thousands of pages of notes. I could probably write another couple of books. But, with all the corruption and the manipulation, it's getting to the point where you can't even put facts and stuff out there. Just like this article right here, a shocking leak reveals Facebook leveraged user data to reward friends and punish enemies. And there's another, Amazon purging right-wing authors like myself. So it's getting to the point where, and I've mentioned this over the air many, many, many times, where they're changing my words around in the book. They're deleting sentences. I have books coming back to me with the introductory chapter, the table of contents. The first chapter and the second chapter has been purged. Never mind words being twisted around. And I mean, you buy something, even an electronic book from a conservative writer, you might be getting Godzilla versus Mothra, for Pete's sakes. So I guess where I'm going with this, I feel that the deceptions the corruption, manipulation, the nepotism, the false flags, the lies, the propaganda, the hoaxes will not be revealed if shows like us are not on the air. And I'd love to stay on the air until President Trump gets reelected. Hopefully that's the case, and then reevaluate it, because I'm not doing this again for any type of fame. I'm doing this to wake up the people, to make them realize that they're being distracted, dumbed down, and divided by groups, which I've given probably thousands of examples over the years, but also to give the people ideas and solutions for thinking and living outside the box. And I think we have made a difference, and that's why I would like to stay on the air. And I know I could do other radio shows, and I do, but I feel with you being ranked number 3 out of 80 shows on GCN, and then the only show who's on RBN, Republic Broadcasting Network, I think you're getting a lot of reach and a lot of frequency, a lot of listeners. I was speaking to Angela Clemens the other day. She gave me a buzz, and she told me how impressed she was when she was on our show to basically talk about Schaefer Cox, how she has gotten donations from all over the world right after our show. And that tells me that, obviously, and we know this, we're not just listening to in America, we're listening to in Europe, and I've gotten emails from Japan, from New Zealand, from Australia, from Europe, thanking me for being politically incorrect, which is code for telling the truth and waking people up. So I think we're doing a great public service by sticking up for the little guy, because the little guy does not have any representation, does not have any restitution or rights under the law. Everything that's being done with these deceptions, with these lies, propaganda, false flags, and hoaxes, is to maintain the status quo and divide the American people by groups. I mean, I think we've given so many examples, Vince, and waking so many people up that people are tired of being played. So, personally, I would love to see us stay on the air until Donald Trump gets reelected, and then reevaluate. And I won't, trust me, I know myself. I'm so busy on my hobby farm and my lifestyle that I would not lose a minute of sleep if I never got on the air again. But again, I do this just like you for the American people. Right?
Hold that thought. We'll be right back. So Richie and I are talking about the future of USA Prepares, and I really don't want to be begging for dollars. I don't want to do it. So that would be Plan Z, as in Z or zebra. Well, if there's a philanthropist out there who thinks that the message that we are providing is worth providing, I'd love to hear from you. And here's a way I'd love to hear from all of you who are interested in making suggestions. Please send me an email at instructor at usaprepares.com. Instructor at usaprepares.com. That's USA Prepares. And in the subject line, please use all caps the word radio, and it will stand out so I can search for it. And I'd love to see what your thoughts are. Does PayPal make sense? Does do just commercials make sense? I'd like to know. But if I have to sell commercials, it's going to take time away from the farm, which I don't think I can do. That's a big problem. Even at $100 per month, that would give us $600 less fees and transaction costs, probably bring us down to the $500 mark, and we'd be able to pay that. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to keep USA Prepares running just the way it is, without any changes. But that's not possible. So either we have to sell advertising, we have to take contributions, or we don't provide satellite downlink to our affiliates. I have to find another way. And I don't know what that is at this point. Maybe it's the internet, but I'm not sure. Around here, the internet's a little flaky. So those are the thoughts. And back to that email address again, instructor@usaprepares.com. Rich, I'd like to share something with you. And, of course, the class.
Okay.
I mentioned that I believe we have crossed that line. The line where we are unable to live with the technology that we have built and are using. And I was talking with others, and we're unable to live with it, and we're unable to live without it. Let me give you an example. I was at a store. I was at a restore, and I was buying some material, and I had a $15 credit for something that they sold me that did not work. And they looked at it, and they said, "You're right. We said it worked. It didn't work, and we're going to give you a credit." And I bought $53 worth of other things, and they had to apply this $15 credit. Do you know it took two people to figure out the mathematics involved in $53 minus 15? It took two people. The line got longer and longer and longer while they tried to figure out how to make this transaction happen. They didn't know what to do. So they got out their calculator, and it took a calculator to do that subtraction. I'm talking about a fourth grade arithmetic problem. It took two adults, the manager and another person. That's one thing. So we don't seem to be able to live without calculators. And then they had to find a calculator. All right, next thing. So we have a Schneider Electric brand solar inverter system. It's all Schneider Electric, except for the battery bank and except for the solar panels. We built the solar array ourselves. We fabricated the steel, the concrete, did it all ourselves, wired it ourselves. So we know how it works. We programmed it ourselves. I read the manuals cover to cover to cover to cover, and there's a lot of manuals. And I used to be able to call a tech support line. I'd call them and say, "So I have a quick question, and here's my question." And all the questions were after I did the research, and I could not find the answers in the manual. So I just didn't call them at the drop of a hat. I wrote out my questions, I had a notebook ready with me, and I would take the notes. Well, no longer can I call them. I can only call a telephone number that tells me I cannot call them and talk to them. Now, the only thing I can do is open a case, and we exchange emails back and forth. I'm on 4 days now, and I get one-sentence answers, and they're not right. So we're talking about the world's falling apart right in front of our eyes, and at least the United States. And I've been talking about technical support. So I bought this solar system, and it was in the thousands of dollars so that we could be off-grid, on-grid, and hybrid, our choice whenever we want. And all I want to know is, how do I toggle between hybrid, meaning we generate electricity and we can use it right then and there. If we have extra electricity, like right now it's pretty sunny here at the farm. If we have extra electricity, let's charge the batteries that were used overnight. And if we still have extra, let's sell it to the grid and offset some of the expenses here at the farm. Well, that was the question. How do I toggle between hybrid and on-grid with selling to the utility company? And I get these, short sentence answers on like 2 sentences and back and forth. And it takes a day to get an answer. I don't know if I'll ever get the answer. So how much do I like Schneider Electric? A lot less than I used to. Because when I bought it, I knew I could get tech support. It's a big company. But now I can't. Well, they'll tell me I have plenty of tech support. I think it's inadequate. I think it's a miserable attempt at what they used to do, which means I used to be able to call them. But it's not just that. If you buy a new car, we have a family friend who has a new Dodge truck. It's at the dealer's. because it's going into limp mode. It's brand new, limp, L-I-M-P, mode. The truck is not performing. He cannot use it. And the dealer doesn't know what to do. Now, do you think that you can call the factory? Do you think you can call Dodge and say, I got a problem with my truck? Or Ram, I've got a problem with my truck? And talk to somebody at the factory? I don't think so. So if the dealer doesn't know, how are you going to get it fixed? And it's under warranty. It's brand new. You have to be nuts to buy a new truck or a new car because they're hard to fix. Even the dealers can't fix them all. And to make matters worse, if you have an older vehicle, the manufacturers stop making the parts for it. So you buy a vehicle and you think, well, I'll just, it's a Ford or Chevy or Chrysler or Mercedes. It doesn't matter. I'll be able to get parts for it. No, you can't always get parts for it. Can you imagine that? And you're thinking that this is the second most expensive thing a person buys in his life. You expect it to last a long time. And then you find out that you can't get parts for it. And what happens when you're on the sale floor and you're looking at these new vehicles? Does the salesperson say, now look, I just want you to know that this truck is kind of a temporary thing? After a couple years, the warranty is going to be over in 2 years or 1 year. After that, you're going to want to get rid of it. Because, well, we don't know how long we're going to be able to get parts. Who would buy something like that? Who would buy a new appliance knowing that you've got to wash your clothes twice because it doesn't get them clean the first time? And that you've got to buy a detergent that's multiple times the price of the old kind of detergent that used to work just great. Who would do that? Oh, that's what's happening right in front of your eyes. Right now. All the while, you're getting passed on the right, on the left. People are giving you the finger. People are beeping their horns because you're not going fast enough when you're actually doing the speed limit. They ride your tail. They throw trash, cigarette butts, trash, gum out the windows, cans, bottles, bags. It's unbelievable. That's where we are today. We're going down. We're going down, and I don't like it. I don't like it. Rich Scheben, I'm really frustrated. So, class, if you've got an answer for USA Prepares, if you have an answer to what we should do, I would love to hear it. And you can call us right now. 866-582-9933. 866-582-9933. Rich, this is unbelievable to me. There's a guy, I don't even know how to pronounce this guy's last name. He is the mayor of South Bend, Indiana. He's openly homosexual. He's a Democrat. Let me spell his last name. His first name is Pete, as in Peter. Buttigieg. 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 Maybe. But he may pronounce it differently. He's married to another homo. He wants to be president of the United States. Now, here's the most amazing thing. So, let's say he were selected. And he goes on tour and he travels, around the world with his homo husband. So we have the president and the first man. What kind of a message is that about the United States? What kind of a message is that? So, yeah, I know that you feel that people can do whatever they want to do in the privacy of their own home, but this is a homo, a full-fledged homo running for president. I can't believe it. I hope he gets defeated early and often. Rich, you have any comments?
Well, they call him Mayor Pete, and I think they do that just because of the ambiguity of the sound of his last name, because I think a lot of people have a hard time with it. But I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of distractions going on today, a lot of deceptions, and a lot has to do with the declassifications that are about to come out against the FBI, the CIA, the DOJ, and Hillary Clinton and the Democrat Party who paid for this. So they're going to do everything in their power. You know, I even read that an employee at Notre Dame said that the fire was intentional. I mean, who knows what they do for distractions these days? It's kind of like, you know, let's say you were a pickpocket and you were in a cafeteria, and how would you create a distraction where maybe you can get people looking in a certain direction where you can go walk up to somebody and pick their pockets? Let's say you had two young ladies who were on your team, the distraction team. Well, they start a fight against each other, and they do a little theater and start yelling and then start punching and then start ripping each other's clothes off. Let's just say, I guarantee you 90% of that cafeteria, and I think I'm being gracious and conservative with that number, would be looking at this fight. So then the pickpocket comes in and starts coming in behind people and stealing their wallets and things like that. So it's basically the left's reaction to what I think is coming regarding the declassifications of Spygate. I think anything goes right now. And, you know, there's a lot of information. Keep in mind, the Democrats, they've spied on whistleblowers and journalists, and they've shed light on any narratives that challenge their addictions to power, money, and control. You know, here's an article that just came out just 4 days ago. Looks like WikiLeaks has dumped everything. And here's just a short list of what they're dumping. You don't think the powers that be are a little concerned? 1, CIA active operations. 2, Coca-Cola getting cover after killing 10 kids. 3, offshore accounts from politicians all over the world. Find your country. 4, racist crimes against whites being covered up all over the EU. Next, Merkel avoiding taxes. Next, FBI pedophile symbols. Next, Bilderberger meetings. Next, Wikipedia cabal. Next, Chiquita Banana corruption in Colombia. And it goes on and on and on. So, you know, when the people start getting fed up with the propaganda, lies, hoaxes, and false flags, they start doing something about it. They start reading about the deceptions in the theater. And they start, you know, mentioning all these things. And that's why censorship and surveillance is so, it basically is a threat to our freedoms, our liberties, our First Amendment, Second Amendment, Third Amendment, Fourth Amendment, you name it. It's getting to the point where the UN, China, and the EU is trying to take over the Internet, where there's going to be like 5 corporations like we have now controlling the media, basically controlling everything, every narrative, every theme, meme, talking point. And they're going to make group identity politics a big deal. They're going to help rig the game with it. So, you know, we need to be aware of the things that they're doing, because most of this stuff is either a distraction or to dumb us down or to divide us by groups. And again, they use media propaganda, professional wordsmithing, Hegelian dialectics, subliminal messaging from every movie. And it's up to us to share this information. And whether it be economic or social, political, it doesn't matter. And we have to point the fact out that they are lowering the bars of standards and expectations. Everything from corporate earnings to so-called revisions and padding good news. And, you know, everything out there can be fixed, but they don't want it.
It's speaking of that, Joe in Arkansas, you've got some ideas?
Yeah, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning. Actually, I wanted to run this by John Miller too. Let's have an ID Friday, or a day where everybody that's out there comes up with ideas. And then we bring them all together for a month, we break them down, and we take action on it. Now,
Idea Friday, IDEA. Is that what you're saying?
yeah.
Okay,
And then,
hold that thought. We're going into a break, and Robert in Kansas is on hold. We'll get to everybody. And by the way, I'm going to be on John Stadtmiller's show tonight at 6 to 7 p.m. Central Time today. So if you'd like to call us on RBN, that's Republic Broadcasting Network. We'll be right back. Joe, stay with us. Rich Sheben's with us. And Joe in Arkansas, you've got a suggestion, Idea Friday. Please call in to John Stadtmiller's show between 6 and 7 p.m. tonight, your time, Central Time. Okay? What else would you like to share with us?
Yeah, let's get the listening audience thinking and let them participate. Yes, some of the ideas are going to be off the wall. Maybe this idea is off the wall. I don't know. But then we can take action. Now, we have the Amber Alert system. Let's come up with our own alert system. It could be called PASS, our Patriot Alert System, where we connect with all the Patriot radio stations. And yeah, this is going to take a job and it's going to be work. But if we can connect with everybody and something goes down in a town or a state, you know, where Child Protection Service grabs somebody's kids or the vaccines or a cop does something, let's alert all these stations and then peacefully descend on this town or state and let them know that we're watching, we're paying attention, and we can affect change. Now, it has to be done peacefully, obviously, but we got to take action. Now, we're spinning our wheels, and they're picking us off one at a time, and I just think it's time. And there's another thing, too, people could do is certain states, they allow you to have a scroll bar light in your back window. Okay? And you can advertise. You can advertise what's going on. You can tell people what's going on. It's not that big, but it's cheap, and it's something you can do. And that's about it. I mean, I'm just thinking we got to think, and we got to do it.
Well, you've mentioned Patriot Alert System. My suggestion would be the Moral Alert System, because a lot of what we're talking about is the decay of morals, right?
Correct. I'm all for it.
Okay. I'm looking forward to your call this evening or late this afternoon. And by the way, there is no delineation as to what evening and afternoon is, as far as I can tell. Afternoon is somewhere between 5 and 6 o'clock in most people's minds. But I don't think there is a delineation. Rich, any comments about what Joe in Arkansas said?
Oh, I think it's a good idea, and I'll comment about what he said and what you said, Vince. First of all, it's a lot more than just morals. It's a separate set of rules, laws, and accountability based on what group you're in. You know, here's an example. Obama advisor's book, Valerie Jarrett wrote a book, and it's ranked over 1,000 on Amazon, but yet it makes the New York Times bestsellers list. So it's only got 3 reviews. So we're getting to the point where we don't have equal representation, and that's what I mean by rules. And you can put a lot of subsets under rules. You can put ethics, you can put morals. It doesn't matter. It's all different based on what group you come from. One for the aristocracy, one for the peons or the serfs. And then you got one for the Democrats, one for the Republicans. And most of the Democrats at the very high hierarchy are the funders of this socialist system, globalist system, if you will. And then laws, it's all, again, based on what skin pigmentation, what sex, what gender, what sexual orientation, etc. And accountability, that's probably the biggest joke word in the English language right now. Everything's based on what group you're in. And I think as long as we have to get people, some people on the right, some big names say we have a 2-tier justice system. We do not. We have a multi-tier justice system based on all of what I just said and more. And until these deceptions and the propaganda and the lie and the false flags and the hoaxes get recognized for what it is, it's going to continue it's just going to continue. That's why we have to be politically incorrect and say these things that the elite doesn't want us to say, because they don't want the people waking up hearing what we have to say. Vince?
Yeah, I could have sworn I heard you use the word peon. I always thought it was peed on.
Same thing.
Yeah, we're a bunch of peed-ons. Joe in Arkansas, thank you for your call. I'm looking forward to chatting again with you tonight. Robert in Kansas, you're up next, right after top of the hour, news and commercial announcements. Robert in Kansas, please stay with us. Everyone all set? Cocked, locked. Hour number 2 of USA Prepares. Rich Sheben's with us. Just a quick comment before Robert joins us on the telephone line. Notre Dame, the fire there. I just wanted to mention that in the United States, most buildings, most homes are wired with 120-volt wiring. It's considered safer than double the voltage, 240 volts, which is used in Europe. Europe uses 240 volts because it is less expensive to transport current at 240 volts than it is at 120 volts. You can use thinner wire because the voltage is higher. So I'm thinking that, did this fire occur because of lighting in the ceiling, in the wooden structure of the ceiling? Is that what it was? Seems like that's an entirely reasonable possibility, because the timbers that are used in the ceiling are hundreds of years old, extremely dry, and easily combustible. And the fire was quite large. So that's just my thoughts. Robert in Kansas, welcome. You're on with Rich Sheben.
Good morning, Vince. Good morning, Rich. Joe had some really good ideas. Vince, you were having an issue funding the show, and then you're looking for a free market solution and something that doesn't, require a burden, an extra burden. We're looking at $17 a day approximately, if my math is right. And you're already creating this value. You have Rich Sheben on, you have Dr. Shealy. You're there 2 hours every day. You're already doing everything that needs to be done. What you have to do is monetize that. And one way to do that is to set up a live stream that goes out to, let's say, YouTube, being the biggest platform. And you have a live stream, and some people do it where they're on camera. I know that you probably wouldn't do that, but you could show anything, really. It could be a scene, but it would be a live feed. And then through something called Super Chats and the join function there in YouTube, you could, in my opinion, once you directed your audience, the class, instructors to this location, you would have a live chat, first of all, so you could have lifetime interaction with your audience in a chat form. And then you could also take Super Chats, which is a donation. I'll give the first one of $17. And then you have a join function where people can actually join as a member of the USA Prepares group there online, and it's $5 a month. And I guess you can donate more than that and get like a higher status. But if you just had 4 people join as members every month, you would cover the cost of the. I guess not. I said that wrong. But you get what I'm saying. A certain number, you would. I guess the number, whatever the number would be, however many you need to join. You know what I'm saying? I didn't work that out, but it's not that much money. And so I hope that's one way to do it. And then you could distribute that across other platforms as well. That same, it's just a live feed. It'd be a camera. Maybe you could show the farm. You could show some place. Maybe you could live feed from somewhere, some other location, and you could show like a scene, a beautiful scene, and you could, whatever you want to do, Vince. I know you don't, Rush Limbaugh, he's on camera the way he does his, but, does anyone really want to watch Rush necessarily? I mean, I like him, but it's one of those things where you could do it however you wanted, and it would be people could freely donate to you, and participate and have an interaction on a deeper level where people could get you a super chat that says, my idea, Vincent, is this. And, my solution is this. And then they could super chat you $5. You could read it even on air if you thought it appropriate. And it's a real deep level of interaction compared to just the radio waves there. So I hope that you look into that, and I'll be your moderator.
I wrote it all down.
Okay.
Yeah. The only problem that I have, the big problem I have is I will not go on camera.
Yes.
I won't do it. I've been asked, over the years, Genesis Communications Network has asked me to do a live video feed, and I've been dragging my feet. The only time I'll do it is when I get audited by the state of Missouri or the Internal Revenue Service. If they audit me, I'll do a live feed from there and show what audits are like and how I behave and how they behave. I'd be glad to do that. Other than that, I really don't want to do it. I mean, I just don't want to be on camera.
Well, then you just put something else on camera. You could have anything you wanted to show. You could show documents. You could show screenshots. It doesn't have to be you at all. That's the thing, is you don't want to show your home, inside, outside. You don't want to show yourself, your family, your pets, whatever. And that's understandable. You don't want to do that. You want to show something you want people to see, and then you can talk over that in a live feed type scenario. It is, definitely could work that out in some way. Mm-hmm. And it allows people to donate to you without any extra of anything. You meet 2 hours, you talk to Rich Scheben, have a great show, and you don't do anything else. And the money, I'm not telling you how much you will make, but there's some YouTubers that's all they do. And they make, I don't want to get into whatever they make, but some do very well. On a single show, they'll make thousands of dollars in a single show. And
you're absolutely right. One of our instructors is a guy by the name of Scotty Kilmer. And Scotty Kilmer has a YouTube channel. It's the Scotty Kilmer YouTube channel. And he will get 500,000 views per video, and he puts them up multiple times per week. And they're short. They're only 5 minutes apiece. But it's a great job, a fabulous job. The topics are great. I agree with everything he says, including when he bashes Mercedes as being really expensive to maintain. I agree with everything he says. But he makes more money doing YouTube videos than he used to make as a full-time mechanic. He's doing really well, and he's excellent at it. He's been doing it for years. So you've got some very valid points, Robert. I appreciate it, but there's a but in there. There's a but and there's a comma, and let me tell you what that is. I'm really not looking for more work.
That's what I mean.
Frankly, yesterday I want to thank Captain John Regan for filling in for me. I had some things that I had to do with our son, farming related, and it took all day, and I needed to do it. And more projects for me is really kind of difficult. So I put my book on hold as a result of trying to figure out what we're going to do with this broadcast. And I've decided that if I don't continue radio, I will not do the book. I just won't do it. I'm going to need that time to just survive as a farmer. And I'm thinking a lot about surviving as a farmer because it's getting really tough. There are farms all around us. And by the way, this is not woe is me class. That's not what this is about. I'm just telling you the way it is, because you're going to find that prices for food are going to keep going up. These massive floods in the Midwest, farms are for sale all around me. If you want to buy a farm, there's plenty of them here. I mean, all around me, at least 5, 6, or 7 at any given point in time right now. Nice farms. I mean, they're probably affordable, but you won't make any money at it. If you want to raise cows, you want to plant some cows, and you think you're going to sell cows at a profit, that's just almost impossible. If you have any debt on the farm, you won't make it. If you have to buy machinery, by borrowing money for your machinery, you probably won't make it either. You have to own everything. You have to be cash and carry, and you got to be really clever and frugal to survive. I'm not talking about thrive. I'm just talking about survive. That's just the way it is. So I'm thinking I'm going to need more time on the farm. So I'm not going to have time for editing and doing all those really neat things with videos. But I like the idea. I just don't know if I can do it, Robert. I'm being absolutely frank with the class.
Okay, well, I appreciate that, Vince. I hope to get Rich's input on it, and I do think it would work. I mean, if you directed the class over there, I do think it would work, and that's why I suggested it. It's a free market solution, right? So they voluntarily give their money. You don't have to beg, and a deep level of interaction. And I think that you would you get a lot of value out of it too. And as far as you doing extra stuff, you would have to set up the live feed. And then, like, basically, I'm not saying it would just be that, but it would be just flipping a button. You have to manage a YouTube channel. And so, yes, that would be something extra for you to do, or your wife or your son or what have you. So, yes, I understand that part. But if you're making enough money at it, you could justify that as maybe something that's worthy. Okay. All right, Vince. Well, thanks for taking my call.
I really appreciate it, Robert. Thank you.
All right.
Rich, your thoughts?
Well, I don't think it's a bad idea, Vince, but, it's going to be a personal decision on your part regarding your lifestyle choices. If you want to go on YouTube and make more money than you would farming, which you could, with the information and the feedback and the listeners you have all around the world, I think you can make a pretty good living out of it. But I also understand maybe if you're getting burned out because, I've been doing this for a long time. I've had one small company. As you know, I have a DVD video out on off-grid living, and I show the inside and outside of my cabin and things of that nature. And a lot of people are very interested because 0.1% of people live off-grid in America. But I also got about 40 different offers from other production companies, reality shows, prepper shows. Between my website and the DVD I have and the radio shows I do, I'm very satisfied with that. And like I said, if I never did another radio show for the rest of my life, I'd be pretty happy. I just feel that I need to be a lobbyist right now for the American people.
I agree with that.
93% of income earners who don't have any representation, rights, or restitution under the rule of law.
But the interesting thing is, USA Prepares was never designed to make money. It was just designed to spread information, the truth. That's all we ever wanted to do. Rich Sheben's with us, offgridmontana.com. So, in 1960, NASA put a satellite into space, and when we think of satellites, we think of these really sophisticated devices that have solar panels collecting electricity, electronics that receive signals, send signals to cameras. Well, the first satellite was nothing more than a mylar ball, a balloon, and we put it in space. And we wanted to see if we could send signals, bounce signals off it. Well, who owns the space above us? Well, there's a company in Russia. And what they want to do is they want to put a satellite in orbit. But actually it's mylar. And they want a billboard in the sky. A billboard in the sky with pieces of mylar that they call a CubeSat, CUBESAT. It will act as an orbital billboard projecting enormous advertisements into the night sky, like an artificial constellation. And this company called Start Rocket in Russia, it's a Russian company, they say that their first client will be PepsiCo, as in Pepsi-Cola. Now, what do you think about looking up in the night sky and seeing a billboard? Does that bother you? Bothers me. So what would you do if a company's advertising? The first thing I would do would be stop buying every one of their products. I would go to the internet and I would look at what products Pepsi owns and makes. And I would stop buying every one, and I would tell everyone I know. Can you imagine the infinite stupidity of creating a billboard in space so that if you want to look up at the peaceful night sky, you can't do it anymore? Because a bunch of jerks in marketing decided they were going to destroy the view of the heavens with this electronic billboard, sell more. This kind of stuff makes me crazy. I'm not kidding. Who are these jerks? Where do they get off thinking that they can invade our space with a billboard? A huge billboard. So, class, what would you do about it? What would you do? At what point will you say, I've had it? I'm going galt. I am not supporting any of this nonsense. Did you fill out your tax return and submit it on the 15th? We did. It was yesterday. We filled out our federal tax return. And what did I do about the part where it says perjury? You know, where you sign your name? Did you just leave that? Or did you cross that off? What did you do? I crossed mine off, and I initialed it. So, for example, if you buy real estate, and the realtor says to you, okay, just sign here, this is a standard contract. And you say, well, okay, should I read it? And then you actually decide to read it. And there's some things that you don't like in there about penalties, forfeiture, ownership, possession, some things you don't like. What do? Do you just say, well, it says on the top standard contract, so I guess I'll sign it? Or do you read it, and then if there are paragraphs and words you don't like, you cross them out? What do? Well, I read it, and if I don't agree to it, I cross it off, and I initial it. I put my initials right where I've crossed it off. Well, I didn't agree with the part about penalty of perjury and all that stuff on the 1040. So I crossed it off, and I initialed it. What that means is I'm not agreeing to this. Did you do that? I did. How many of you did that? Or did you just figure that, this is just standard stuff. We do this every year. They keep changing the rules every year. They keep changing the verbiage. They keep changing the amounts that they want to steal from us. And if you make a mistake, you could be subject to the penalties of perjury. So we're talking about stupid things that stupid people do. And this billboard in the sky is one of them. Now, if I don't like advertising, if let's say I don't want to watch the advertisements, I can either turn off whatever it is, the radio, television, whatever it might be, or I can put up with it. Okay. But when they advertise in the sky, the only way you can turn that off is to not go outside at night or don't look up. Really. It's an invasion. That's how stupid we've become. Just one more example of what I said before. We're going down, and I know how it ends. The sum of all individual stupidity plus the sum of all individual greed. And this is an example of both, greed and stupidity, in one package. Rich, even any comments?
Well, just like all advertising, Vince, you mentioned, first of all, the sky advertising, it's going to affect rural communities more than city communities because the city lights make it so hard to even see stars. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works in urban, suburban America. But, here's an article out of the Citizen Free Press this morning, which says it'll make your blood boil. Basically, all these hundreds of thousands of immigrants who are coming from Central and South America are getting newspaper. They're being bombarded by newspaper and television and radio ads telling them to come to America and they'll get free everything. You know, it's basically, it's a Cloward and Piven strategy to overwhelm the system is what it is. And regarding what you did with the IRS, just like all contracts, you know, it's basically as long as they put just enough legitimate information and with the right disclosures, see, that's the key, disclosures, they can basically do anything. So as we create more lawyers, countries like China creates more skilled workers like engineers, and we're creating jawboning personnel and they're creating skilled workers. So again, it's a case of lowering the bars of standards and expectations all around. So we got to see, and you know, I know I kind of dovetailed into immigration here, but I don't know if you saw the video where they were interviewing Swedish liberal people, and they were saying how they're proponents on the air of illegal immigration, and then they asked them, is it okay if they stay in your house? Could you house one? And they introduced the immigrant to that person. They all said no, every one of them. It's just like Cher. You know, Cher, here's an article that says Cher should have kept her mouth shut. Basically, they're proponents all day long, 24/7, about having illegal immigrants come to this country to overwhelm the system so the rich can stay rich and protect the status quo and everybody else loses ground so they can be controlled. Well, as soon as Cher found out that President Trump was going to dump illegal immigrants in her backyard because she lives in a sanctuary city area, she didn't like it. So she, you know, basically did a 180. Everything is done, folks, everything. And I've given thousands of examples over the years to show that whether it be a union boss, whether it be a politician or an attorney or a CEO, it doesn't matter. Everything is being done to basically keep the status quo the way it is. Everything. Every distraction, every dumbing down, every division, every race baiting, swaying public opinion, holding on to the narrative, manufacturing perception, pity, guilt, and ideology, degrading and disrespecting all these groups, saying that they can't compete, not for synergy, not for equality, not for fairness, not for diversity, not for prosperity, all these politically correct buzzwords that they use. Everything is done to distract them down and divide the American people by groups and to make sure the status quo stays the same. That's it. It's about the control. It's just like with what happened to Candace Owens, and I praise Candace Owens is a goddess. She needs to be successful. She is. We need to stand behind her. This is why the left is always cutting off her word, cutting off what she says and changing her words and putting different words in her mouth because they want to hold on to the narrative. You know, there's so many things. I touched on immigration, Vince. We could change so many things. If we did 2 or 3 things for immigration, we can create a solution. First of all, 15 years to be in this country to be on welfare and food stamps. Second, lawyers, judges, politicians, and celebrities. Anybody who has a family that's negatively impacted by an illegal immigrant, especially an angel family, whether it be murder, rape, it doesn't matter, confiscate all the wealth of the lawyers, judges, politicians, and celebrities who have been proponents of illegal immigration. I mean, look at the Ninth Circuit Court recently ruled, look what happened to poor Kate Steinle. They recently ruled the people can't sue sanctuary cities. See, the people can't do anything. We are supposed to have our will broken and be submissive. That's what it's all about. It's empowering the aristocracy, the globalists, and making everybody else sheep. And the third thing we can do for illegal immigration is put these people in the homes of all these lawyers, judges, attorneys, and celebrities who they say are their proponents of illegal immigration. We need to have practice what you preach laws, which I've talked to them blue in the face, but they don't want to do it because it's not a left-right paradigm, Vince. Folks, it's not a left-right paradigm. Half the Republicans are called neocons and rhinos. It's the aristocracy managing the serfs, plain and simple. So when they get people to believe that they're liberal or that, it's all about democracy, even though we're supposed to be a republic, a constitutional republic, they are dumbing people down by making them think this way. This is why we've talked till we're blue in the face about the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, protecting minorities and women. We've talked about all this stuff so many times, and still there's people who don't read up and research up who think that the so-called right-wing, the so-called conservative party is to blame. Well, they're not blaming white males because they never blamed the Bezos, the Buffetts, the Bloombergs, the Murdochs, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers. No, it's not a white male thing. It's to blame the poor/middle-class white male heterosexual with a Christian name. That's what they're doing, okay? We need to be aware of their tactics because it's all propaganda, lies, false flags, and hoaxes. Every bit of it. It's all 100% theater. And I know this audience knows this, but there's a lot of people who don't. And we need to make people aware with information, as I always try and do. Sometimes we all go off into tangents. But we all have to be lobbyists for the American patriots, for American nationalists, not white nationalists. Doesn't matter what skin pigmentation, doesn't matter what gender you are, what sexual orientation, or what religion you are. You know what? We can all be American patriots because we have a Constitution. We have a Bill of Rights. In other words, we have a rule of law, which isn't being followed because the aristocracy wants to do everything in their power to maintain that addiction to power, money, and control. And that's what it boils down to. Vince?
Let's talk about some examples of what you just said. So you talked about dumbing down. Well, let's talk about the GDP, the generally dumb public. Have any of our class, I'm not saying our class is the GDP, I'm saying the opposite. Has any of our class checked prices lately? Prices for goods, spare parts? How about blue jeans? $100 for a pair of blue jeans? $100 for sneakers? Okay, come on. That's nuts. Well, in 1932, you could have a 1-ounce gold coin, $20 gold piece. You could have a $20 note, piece of paper with some green ink, dead president on it. And let's talk about the difference. So the Federal Reserve tells us that 2% inflation is stable. Let's talk about what that 2% that they claim is stable has done. In 1932, you could get for $20 gold coin, 482 gallons of gasoline. Today, you get 7. In 1932, you could get 427 gallons of milk for that $20 gold coin. Today, 6.3 gallons of milk. In 1932, you could get 675 dozen eggs. 675 dozen eggs for $20. Not eggs, 675 dozen eggs. Today, you get 10. You could get 2,700 first-class stamps in 1932. Today, 40. So that's based on some assumptions. Gold at $1,350 an ounce. A gallon of gas at $2.80. By the way, it's up to $4 in California right now. $4. Milk at $3.16 and a dozen eggs at $2. And a stamp at 50 cents. Heck, I remember when stamps went up to 5 cents. All the way up to 5 cents when I was growing up. I couldn't believe it. What a huge percentage jump. From 4 cents to 5 cents. Yeah. 25% increase. Bang. It was huge. Now they're 50 cents. 10 times more. Haircut. When I was growing up, 25 cents for a boy's haircut. 35 cents for men. Then it went up to 35 cents for everybody. 35 cents. Now, if you can get a haircut for $11, which is what I pay, that's like a deal. Because haircuts can cost $49 in California. They must be a lot better in California than they are in Missouri to charge almost 5 times as much. So we've been dumbed down. We've been told the Federal Reserve is on our side. They're out to protect us, to keep prices stable. You used to be able to get 2,700 first-class stamps for $20 in 1932, and now you get 40. That's the Federal Reserve. That's a private corporation stealing your wealth while you sleep. We'll be right back. Class, I'm going to prove to you we've lost our minds. So in Pennsylvania, there was a police officer. You can look this up at Daily Mail. So a cop accidentally shoots an unruly suspect. So this guy is in a room, locked in a room with a couple officers. He's unruly. So the cop says he was going to get his taser and use his taser on this unruly guy. But he didn't grab his taser. He grabbed his pistol and shot this guy in the police station. So an unnamed officer shoots a guy by the name of Brian Reiling on March 3rd in Pennsylvania. Bucks County DA Matthew Weintraub, Weintraub. What kind of a name is Weintraub? So Weintraub says he's not going to press charges. Really? So a cop pulls his gun, allegedly by mistake, shoots this guy in police custody, and the cops don't get prosecuted. So the Weintraub guy, the DA, says that he determined that the shooting was neither justified nor criminal. Let me say it a different way. The shooting was, quote, neither justified nor criminal, but was excused, end quote. So an officer thinks he's pulling his taser, or that's what he says. He shoots a guy in police custody, and nothing happens. Nothing. Are you going to allow that? Have you lost your minds? And this jerk Weintraub smiling on nice picture of him. This is what's happening in the United States of America. This guy is captured and he gets shot while in police custody. Can you imagine? 2 police officers roughing him up, and one of them pulls out his gun and doesn't know that the black pistol he's holding in his hand is a gun, not a yellow taser. Doesn't know that. And we allow these guys to walk around with guns and ammunition? We've lost our minds. These people should be tried, convicted, and swift justice meted out. This cop should be in prison, but he's unnamed. Why is he unnamed? Because maybe a few of the public would circle his house, and he'd be terrified for unleashing a bullet into this captured man in police custody. I don't know how else to say it. This is nuts. We are surrounded by jerks and predators. Rich Scheben?
Well, it's kind of what I was talking about with the Spygate thing and Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. You know, if you are a liaison for truth, if you stick up for the little people, then the powers that be do not want that. They do not want people woken up. So they need certain people to protect the aristocracy, and that's what they're doing. That's the hidden motive behind doing that. They want to make sure that the police protects the aristocracy with a lot more vigor than they're protecting the little people, and that's pretty obvious. So this is one of the reasons why I say stand for principle, Vince, and I should say this on every show. I try to. I just never have enough time to say to talk about all the things I prepare for. But standing for principle is 3 criteria. One is the same rules, laws, and accountability for everybody. The second is truth. That means you have to have the guts to be willing to be hated for telling the truth. And the third, if someone has less consequences for their behavior because of what group they come from, then you get to do it too. If we had that with practice what you preach laws, we wouldn't have 90% of the things happening.
Stand for principle. It's as simple as that. That's what we do here at USA Prepares. And if more people would stand with us, we would have very few problems. But there aren't enough of us. There are not enough of us. Rich Scheben, thanks so much for being with us. Offgridmontana.com.